welcome to the Joe Hoft Show. This is Joe Hoft. They're going after people like you and me for sharing the truth. They're all phonies, they're liars, they're fakes. How much evidence did they gain on Dominion? How much did they gain that they're not telling us about? That's great. Great job, guys, putting that together. That was great. Yeah, at the end there, I was talking about the Dominion Fox News case. What does Fox News know that they'd never shared? Why and why did they ever sign that agreement? That's outrageous. Outrageous. There's definitely something behind that we haven't been told because it made no sense in the world to settle with Dominion. Something dark was behind all that. That's for sure. And it wasn't Tucker Carlson. It wasn't anything he said. No, that was all garbage that was put out to slander Tucker. Something else was going on there for sure. And we don't know now. It'd be nice someday if we do know, but I'll stick to that. Stick to my guns there. There's something going on. What did they know that we don't know? Because they were able to do all sorts of, query into Dominion, and God only knows what they found out. So, anyways, yeah, that's great intro that you put together there, guys. Really appreciate it. The man Apollo and the rest of the team here at Untamed Nation doing a great job as always. So anyways, thanks for putting that together. I was going to mention yesterday I was involved in an event after this show, and it was regarding Tina Peters. It kicked off right at the end of my show and went on for a few hours. There was different guests that spoke, and I was honored to be one of the guests. And I shared that piece, Tina from Selection Code. I put a little 2-minute clip together. You can find it out on Twitter, on my account on Twitter, Real Joe Hoff. And it's gotten thousands of views. But it was just I wanted to point out that what's going on with Tina Peters. It's real. It's really real. And yeah, there's my Twitter account. Looks different because it's black. I guess my background, I show it as white. But anyways, yeah, down below there's the tweet where I put up this thing on Tina Peters in her movie Selection Code. She spoke about how she came home and the FBI had destroyed her garage, and she found this box and it was her son's belongings that she'd never had the courage to open after his death. And she says how she picked it up and she took it into her kitchen and she opened it. And we shared that yesterday. That was in this clip that I put together. We shared it earlier this week. And then I shared at the end of this clip just how, this is just fascist communist stuff that's happening. But basically that is absolutely what's happening. We've allowed, and the Republicans have allowed this. So Republicans are to blame as much as anybody. I mean, really, like people are saying, what's going on with the House and the Senate now? Here's a piece. Pam Bondi hasn't been able to really get things rolling. Well, what's going on? Well, the Senate hasn't approved at least one of her top people. She's got some acting guy sitting in a role that she wants her permanent position, and the Senate's sitting on it. How many other jobs are they sitting on at Trump's? I mean, we're talking. It's been a quarter. It's been three months, basically 100 days now since President Trump took over office. Yeah, right about 100 days today, maybe today, tomorrow. And what's going on? What's going on? We've got 3 months, and how come people haven't been passed through? It's a Republican Senate. What is taking you so long? It's just outrageous. These people are not on our side. We should be screaming at these people. They need some sunlight. We need to shine the focus on who in the Senate is slowing this stuff down. Who is it? Is it Collins? Is it Murkowski? These nasty people that consider themselves Republicans that I think Murkowski especially stole her election. She's terrible. Nasty, nasty woman. Nasty, nasty woman from Alaska. Anyways, what's going on there? Who's stalling this? Who's preventing President Trump from getting his DOJ kicking off in all gears? Because that's kind of tough for Bondi. We had a video here yesterday showing attorney Mike Davis sharing with Bannon that no, they're going to get justice. Don't you worry. They're working on it right now. They got great plans, and just hold tight. So but he also mentioned, well, this one guy's there. He's an acting guy because the current position hasn't been filled yet. It's outrageous. This is outrageous. we've got to get this stuff moving in the right direction. So, yeah. Anyways, with Tina Peters' story, going back, it's like she's held in state crime, so they were encouraging everybody to call that a corrupt governor and Democrat, and Colorado has likely stolen his election too. I don't believe Colorado's blue. I'm starting to wonder if any state's blue anymore. I don't really think they are. I talked to people in Rhode Island and Connecticut and New York, and they're like, in California and Oregon and Colorado, they're like, no, there's so many red here. I saw a poll today on and we're going to talk about it here in a little bit, so I'll just hold off on that. But it just indicates that about 80% of American people are behind Trump right now. We can tell this from other polls that are the answers that we get. This is what I learned. They gave us garbage polls and then totally garbage polls, and then we'd get the results of the good polls, and they were indicators of what really was the population. So, for example, when they said 62% of Americans after the 2020 election believed that the election was stolen or rigged, that meant that a good 62%, two-thirds of Americans believed Trump won. And then there was a poll, 65% believed January 6th was a setup. And now the poll numbers are 80%. So I believe that's basically the trend line towards President Trump. The insanity of the left standing up for MS-16 people in El Salvador, putting their rights in front of Americans like January 6ers, who they destroyed and stole all their rights from, threw them in prison for 4 years, some of them in jail, never even having a trial. What's going on there? They're standing up for that. No, no, no. And that was my point in the Tina Peter thing, as I keep winding back to that. I shared a couple stories. One is from this lady who sent me some information. We put it up at joehoft.com. It was a story about how Tina was saying, hey, if I die here, I didn't commit suicide. She was worried at one point in her jailing that she was going to get killed, basically, without saying so. And about 2 weeks later, I mentioned this yesterday, got choked up when I said this. Her mom actually contacted me. The way I shared it is I received an email from a woman who said, please pass that message on to President Trump if you can, Joe. Thank you for posting it. And I am Tina Peters' mom. I'm in my 90s. And a lady, when I shared that yesterday, her jaw just couldn't believe what she was hearing. A lot of those people maybe have never heard it before. And that's what's going on at Tina Peters. And my message is, hey, do everything you can do right now. Everything you can do right now to save your local community and this country. Because if these monsters do what they want to do, this will be the end of this country, and they will be merciless. You see what they're doing to Tina Peters. They do it to anybody who stands up for the truth. They will come after you in any way they can, whether it be your advertisers, whether it be shadow banning you, whether it be, cutting your numbers. I swear to God, sometimes I put up these articles. I'm like, man, that's been axed. I've been axed on Twitter for a long time because they hate what I do. And I know that too, because there's other indicators too. That's other indicators. If they are targeting you, then you are very successful. And the people they target, President Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Jim and I at the Gateway Pundit, if they're coming after you, you're doing some great stuff. And I'm going to share some great stuff today anyways. Do everything you can. These people are monsters. They have no problem sitting in office knowing that their election was stolen. Think about that. Every one of these slime balls in California. Adam Schiff, give me a break. He's disgusting. Newsom, nobody's voting for them, saying that they won that election. What a joke. Steve Garvey crushed Adam Schiff. It's probably 8-2, 9-1, even in California. It's outrageous. And because these elections are broke, and I've written 3 books on it. The main thing is you can't certify any of this stuff. It's total garbage. Came out with some great pieces too recently. That piece about Orange County. 1/5, 21% of the people who voted in the 2024 election in Orange County, 6th largest county in America, 21% aren't even either they're not citizens, they're invalid, or we don't even know who they are. They're phantom voters. 21% of voters. That's how grotesque their elections are. These people there need to stand in unison and demand justice. Because there are elections. If you can't change the monsters that are running your country, you don't have a country. You have communism, fascism, and good luck. Because if you say anything, then you are dead, as well as your family and everything, and anything they could do to hurt you. And that's what they're doing today. I'm telling you, behind the scene. Look at Tina Peters. So we got a lot of work to do. And I'm telling you what, let's start off with this clip here. I found this on the on Twitter today. These people are crazy too, and they think it's okay. This 20% out there. Watch this.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant this. You should honestly be ashamed of yourself wearing this hat out in public.
Ashamed of myself? I'm a proud American.
I'm a proud American too. That doesn't mean you have to be proud of the Cheeto that's in charge right now.
The Cheeto?
Of the Cheeto that's in charge.
How can you be totally,
seriously, you get off.
How can you be
You
mad
get
at
off.
making America great?
You think what's happening right now is making America great? Are you serious?
Yeah,
You're serious? You're proud to be with your husband? You're proud of this? You're proud of the man that you're married?
Proud?
You're proud of this? Take it off. I'm so serious. Take it off. Take it off.
Get out of here.
These people are crazy. There's something wrong with them. There's something.
That's an incredible video. My God. Guy's wearing a MAGA hat. Some lunatic comes by. These people are crazy. I love that piece at the end. They are crazy. And this is how powerful this media is, pushing people to that extent. Good people go crazy when they see a MAGA hat. Crazy. It's insane. Now it's Teslas. They've got you brainwashed. These poor people, they're poor people. See a Tesla, I think that's one cool vehicle. That's what I think. Well, anyways, we've got some good news today. I'm gonna share as we continue to share the truth. Great things are happening, and that's the thing. That's why the left hates us. That's why they target us. Put this piece up yesterday. This lady reaches out to me. She's with Pete Santilli. Says, "Hey, I just want to bring this to attention. This judge in Nevada who's gotten just hammered, and it looks like she's going to lose her job. She might be going to prison or jail. She's fought for an appeal. The Obama judge turned it down, and so I wrote about it. She sent me a couple pieces. I got to tell you, it's one of the worst pieces I ever wrote. I kind of slapped some pieces together and threw it in there, but I promised this girl I'd put it up, so I did. I sent it to Jim. Jim put it up. That was Wednesday. Yesterday on Thursday, what happens? President Trump pardoned this judge. This judge was so grateful. And she was at the Bundy Ranch, and there's somebody who was there, maybe her prosecutor, who just hates her, and he's coming after her. And because of her pardon today, this beautiful woman will be a judge today again. She will be assuming her job. She said in a story I saw yesterday that she's, had to give up a lot of things, sell things, get rid of things, live cheap. But she said she always had the faith. She always knew that she would be a judge again. And yesterday, her dreams came true. Isn't that awesome? And I'm so happy to be part of that. And congratulations to Jim and the Gateway Pundit for helping with that as well. And that's up at Joe Hoft today, and that's up at Jim's Gateway Pundit as well. Another piece I wanted to bring to your attention, another big piece, had 3 big pieces this morning on joehoft.com. One, this piece is about President Trump looking into the donor mules. And there's other people out there claiming that they were the ones who found the donor mules, and that's a lie. It's just a lie. The first piece that was ever reported on these donor mules was a piece that I put up at Gateway Pundit back in, and there it is, back in 2022, December, right after that election. And I think there had to be a rerun, and it was between this Warnock, he says he's a minister. I don't know what he is. I think he's an absolute crook. And him and Herschel Walker. I think Herschel had to go through it again and lost, and it was a nightmare. I don't know if that was the same year or not, but what disgusting stuff. Anyways, we found out at that time that $22 million funneled into his campaign from across the country, and we looked into it. This one guy, Chris Gleason, sent me this stuff, and I looked through it. I said, he's right, and I put it up. And that was the first piece on any of this. We started seeing that, hey, in Act Blue, you can get the data. It goes to the FTC. We could get the data. We could see it. I tied some of his numbers and used my auditing skill set. And I said, man, this guy is spot on. What they will do, this saying it's illegal to don't donate money under somebody else's name. It's illegal to donate money from foreign entities as well. And that's what we believe has been happening. And this is the only thing that could be done is we needed a government investigation. Of course, Joe Biden wasn't going to investigate himself. So thank God. And President Trump's doing that. So I feel like that was a big win by us yesterday as well. So this is what we do. We're going to continue to win for the American people. Now, another piece that came up today, and I just wrote about it. I sent it to Jim. I'm not sure if he's got it up at Gateway Pundit yet or not, but it's about the killer Cuomo. And we were writing stuff back in early 2020 about this governor in New York, Chris. It's not Chris Cuomo, it's the older brother. I think Chris was with CNN, right? Anyways, Governor Cuomo signed 3 agreements. They were regulations where he mandated that people with COVID had to be sent back to the homes that they live in, the elderly homes. Well, he didn't just do that. He not just mandated that with his health, top guy in health. He also mandated the same thing, that COVID sick patients needed to be sent back to those homes for people with disabilities. There's another home for people that were children with like disabilities, so kids that might be mentally retarded or other things going on. So that is what Cuomo did. As a result, COVID deaths skyrocketed in New York, skyrocketed. And some of these other states did the same thing. They did it in New Jersey, that scoundrel sick guy in New Jersey, the governor there. Whitmer did it in Michigan. It was outrageous. It was a plan. I think ultimately what they wanted was numbers. They wanted to scare the hell out of everybody so that people would be enticed to take a vaccine that was going to kill them. And probably propped up by China. I'm not sure who was behind this. It was a sick situation. Certainly Fauci's involved. But Cuomo pushed this thing, and New York's numbers skyrocketed, their deaths. And we're like, well, look at that. He's forcing COVID sick people into elderly homes. And we knew then that it was the old that were the high risk people to die from COVID. It was anybody over 60. The numbers started blossoming. Actually, I think the average age was 80, but the elderly people were at the highest risk. If you looked at children under 18, it was like none without any other type of comorbidity of some terrible situation. So that's what they did, and it was terrible. We reported on it back then. Well, yesterday or the day before, they announced that the House finally is doing something. They pushed to the DOJ their referral to, I guess, maybe for crimes by Killer Cuomo, former governor of New York, who's now running for mayor in New York City. And he's now been, they pushed that forward to the DOJ. Well, the piece that we wrote last night is, hey, wait a minute. They're only talking about the deaths that occurred related to the elderly homes. There were 2 other types of homes that were also in play where people died. And then the other key piece of information that people don't know is that these orders by the governor mandating regulations of pushing these people in these homes, they're still in place. We don't have any information that they've ever been rescinded. So there may be even more over the past few years, people that died as a result of this, murderous policy. So big story there, I think, and certainly something we feel proud of. That was, my report in the Gateway Pundit that started to kick that off as well. So I'm feeling pretty good today in that the work that I did is reaching the president, and he is taking action, whether it be pardoning a judge in Nevada or investigating these donor mules that I first reported, or looking into Killer Cuomo, who I was the only guy out there, the Gateway Pundit and me, that was saying, hey, he did this not just to the elderly, he did it to 3 different types of homes. We were all over that. And let's hope that there's some justice that's brought in this case too. That was a mass murder that occurred in New York. It's outrageous. So anyways, that was a big story, and I'm proud to share the truth That's what we got to do. We got to have the courage to go out there and write about this stuff and share this stuff when nobody else will. Who cares what your friends think? If they're the lunatics, they're going to knock your hat off in a restaurant. What are you doing with them anyways? There's been some concerns. Maybe I'll jump over here. We've got time for a couple clips here. One is I've got Newt Gingrich here. He talked about this judicial coup. Well, he gave a short clip yesterday that I noticed. He says that they're working on this issue right now, so they need to work faster. But at least there's the legislature's looking into this. Take a look at this.
There's a great question from Incognito, who asked why Congress isn't doing more to deal with these district judges who seem so out of control. Well, I can talk about that because I actually testified at a Judiciary Committee hearing in the House just about a week ago, talking about the need to restrict district courts to local district decisions and not allow district court judges to make nationwide decisions that could affect everybody as though they were an alternative president. I'm delighted to report that Congressman Darrell Issa actually passed a bill which would block district courts from having nationwide injunctions and instead limit them to their own district. It went through the House. Senator Grassley has a similar bill in the Senate. I suspect it'll pass, and I suspect that President Trump will sign it. So Congress is moving to put district judges back in their district and not allow them to pretend that they're alternative presidents.
So that's good news. And I've got another clip here I want to play before we go to our next segment and bring on our guest. This guy. I love this guy. I think he's so funny. We're going to play at least some of this. It's Peter St. Onge. He's an economist. He's a PhD. He's great on the economy. But he had this piece about how Americans are looking at our government right now. And I found it just hilarious. But anyways, take a look at this.
81% of Americans think the federal government is corrupt. The other 19% probably work for the federal government. So says a new survey from prominent pollster YouGov, who asked 1,100 Americans if corruption is a problem. You probably will not be surprised that members of Congress scored the absolute worst, with 90% of Americans saying they are corrupt, while just 2% of Americans think Congress things are clean. For perspective, 29% of Americans believe in Bigfoot, 16% think the earth is flat, 7% think chocolate comes from brown cows, and 2% think Congress is clean. CEOs didn't score much better. 84% of Americans think they're corrupt, which makes sense since they are the ones who bribed Congress. Journalists scored 79% corrupt. University presidents and public school officials were 75% corrupt. Even doctors took a hit after their COVID catastrophe, with 73% of Americans saying doctors are corrupt and just 1 in 5 saying doctors are honorable people. Interestingly, the results did not change much by political party. Democrats are slightly more skeptical of Congress and CEOs. Republicans are more skeptical of journalists and public schools. But across the board, Americans are convinced we are ruled by thieves and criminals. It's a pretty shabby showing for our self-styled elite. And thanks to Doge, we are finding the reason an establishment that lives off thieving hundreds of billions of dollars to impose their authoritarian technocratic utopia upon the country while divvying us up like pirates' booty. This all gives context to Donald Trump's efforts to bring down the columns of the temple to crash the system in a hard reboot that removes this criminal elite in favor of the American people, once again seizing our own destiny. Of course, that's up against the thieving and very well-funded criminals themselves, who use everything from public schools and captured universities to media, Hollywood, and the lobbyist-fueled lawfare industrial complex to gaslight voters, dissipating their anger into what you gonna do resignation. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. I suspect these numbers will be broadly similar across the world, in Europe or Canada, certainly in Latin America. Even worse in places like Japan or Korea, where public support of government regularly scores in the 20s. A few years ago, there was a fascinating study by Princeton researchers that found how much voters like a policy has literally zero correlation to whether it becomes law. In other words, democracy demonstrably is not working. Our laws are captured by special interests. It's partly why I'm optimistic about populism. The same corrupt machine that tries to stamp us out is the very reason we are winning. Last week I mentioned how Congress is trying to respend the Doge savings to the point Doge may not succeed in cutting anything. It might just repurpose money from transgender operas to border walls. But even if that happens, the most long-lasting legacy of Doge is the industrial-scale corruption is exposed in America and around the world. When 2% of voters think the system is clean, we have a systems-level failure. Doge gave us a path to fix it that is gradually breaking through the media shield. On the other side, we get a democracy that voters can actually believe in again. Read the rest with charts and all the gory details at profsatange.com. Okay, we'll be watching.
Yeah, thanks so much. That was Peter St. Onge. It was great. It's amazing. More people believe in Bigfoot than trust this government. That's some great. Those are some great statistics. Anyways, funny stuff. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with my guest, Leo Hohmann. I haven't talked to Leo in a long time, so this should be a lot of fun and lots to talk about. So we'll be right back with Leo right after this.
Gabe! Dude, Gabe, something's in the dumpster.
Whoa, what is that for?
Something's in the dumpster, man.
Well, let's use the burner. We don't want to wake the neighbors. Freeze! Stop resisting!
Stop resisting!
If you're looking for a less than lethal option for self-defense or keeping pests out of your dumpster, then check out Byrna at DCF Guns. Visit us at our 3 locations in Castle Rock or Colorado Springs, or visit us online at dcfguns.com.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Hey, welcome back to the Joe Hoft Show. So glad you are here, and also very glad to introduce to you a good friend, somebody that I've known for a few years now, and a good friend of some of my good friends, namely my brother and Michelle Bachmann, former representative and now dean of the School of Government at Regent University. Anyways, without further ado, let me introduce to you to Leo Hohmann. Leo, welcome to the Joe Hoft Show.
On with you, Joe. Yeah, I guess it was about 3 years ago we met in person at the conference at Regent University put on by Michelle Bachmann.
That was really great. I remember that. I still think of the sunny day. We met in her office. We stepped outside for a bit. Gorgeous campus. And then we gave a presentation there, many of us, on elections, as I recall. It was election integrity, maybe a year after the actual theft of 2020, and we revisited all that had happened. It was quite a lot to talk about there, but yeah, that's where I think we first met.
Absolutely, and have kept in touch ever since, and I've been blessed by that friendship.
No kidding. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Leo. People that may not know you, a bit of your background, etc. Leading up to today.
Yeah. Basically, Joe, I'm an independent journalist who came out of the mainstream corporate media, worked at newspapers for about 28, 29 years until around 2014. And at that point, I worked for WorldNet Daily for about 4.5 years after that, and then became totally independent since really COVID is what kind of sprung my independent platform, I guess, with leohohmann.com, which I'd already had before that, but it kind of took off during COVID. And then I started my Substack about, I want to say 2 years ago now. And I've been writing predominantly through Substack the last, I want to say 8 to 10 months to a year. I still post at leohohmann.com, but if people want all my articles, they really need to subscribe to my Substack, because I mean, just as an example, I think I posted about 6 articles there this week. I mean, there's just so much going on right now that I find Substack is the most conducive to quick turnarounds and quick news bites to send out to my readers.
Yeah. So what, by the way, then, nice segue. What's got you most concerned? Is it multiple things? I know there's just a lot going on.
Yes,
where should we start?
indeed. I mean, from I guess I would say the top of my list of concerns, if you frame it that way right now, is the war drums beating all over the world right now, Joe, whether it be Israel and Iran, India, Pakistan, Russia, Ukraine, Taiwan, China, the Koreas. Every one of those flashpoints seems to be just waiting for, they're already underway in some cases, hot and heavy, like Russia, Ukraine. But it looks like the spark is all that's needed to launch some of these other regions into a full-blown war. And at that point, I think all bets are off, and we're off to the races towards World War III. And we all know that the World War III is not going to be anything like World War II, because there are so many countries now that have possession of nuclear weapons, including both India and Pakistan. That World War III is something that absolutely must be avoided. And I frankly don't see many leaders in the world right now, other than perhaps President Trump and maybe Putin, who seem to have a firm grasp on exactly how dire this would be. I mean, and seem to, that's why Putin has been so restrained in his war with Ukraine. You know, people in the West say, oh, Putin is a paper tiger. Look, he's had 3 years and he's been unable to take Ukraine. Well, guess what? His objective was never to take Ukraine. He simply wanted to, he launched his special military operation because he wanted to force Zelensky to the negotiating table to negotiate an agreement by which he would be able to be in a better position to stop the aggression coming from Kyiv in the direction of these 4 Ukrainian provinces that are filled mostly with Russian speakers. And they have been attacked on and off since 2014, when the U.S., the CIA launched a coup, the Maidan Revolution uprising, and installed a Western puppet government, and has been building up Ukraine's military ever since. People say that war started in February 2022. No, it started in February 2014, and it's been raging ever since. And Putin took the initiative 3 years ago in 2022, but he's never had the intention to take all of Ukraine, and yet we keep hearing this propaganda from the Europeans that, oh, we must stop Putin. He wants to take all of Europe, not even just Ukraine. He wants to take all of Europe. And so the war propaganda has just reached a fever's pitch. And that's the top of my concerns. Now, domestically, I'm very concerned about our courts and our federal court system, where we have local district courts trying to impede the Trump agenda that a vast majority of Americans voted for. You know, just yesterday, a district court struck down Trump's DEI, anti-DEI program, which I think is one of the more popular Trump policies. But the courts are trying to shut it down. They're trying to they're trying to shut down transgenders in the military. Trump's attempt to end that craziness. So yeah, a lot's going on both domestically and internationally. None of it really all that good. And then we've got the situation with the Pope passing away, and everybody's trying to figure out, who we're going to be stuck with next. Some are saying they could be worse than Pope Francis, which would be, quite remarkable. And then other people are hoping that we could end up with someone like a Cardinal Sarah, out of the African country of Guinea, who's quite conservative, but also older. And so and we have so many. I spoke with Elizabeth Yore a couple days ago, who is a very in the know Catholic attorney, and she said it would be unlikely that we would end up with a conservative pope, simply because Pope Francis has stacked the cardinals, the conclave, the voting cardinals, with so many liberals over the last 12 years.
Yeah,
so
it's unfortunate.
That's the short answer to your question.
Well, and we could go on and on. I was going to share this. We texted this earlier between a group. Michelle Bachman shared this, and so I said, "Well, I'm going to share that on the show. I got a great guest today. It's Leo Hohmann." As you're sitting there on the text message, but here's what she says, kind of her thoughts. Basically, she was on a radio show this morning, and excuse me, she says, "I'm now with urgency asking the intercessors to pray accordingly. I believe prophetically we are in a time-sensitive moment. The window may close and fate will be sealed. The time to activate our prayer is now." She goes on, "As I see it, we have three priorities for prayer and fasting right now. One, Israel, Iran. Pray for U.S., Israel, trust the Lord, and take the opportunity to deny Iran their nuclear guillotine. This is time sensitive. The window won't stay open long for this to happen. Two, she says, pray the Lord removes the unjust judges perverting the Lord's justice, and pray for the true justice, especially in Brazil, Israel, and the U.S. The judiciary is out of control, and the Lord can remove the unrighteous judge." And then three, she says, pray against violence and lawlessness in the land. The Spirit was released in the U.S. with the story of George Floyd in the pandemic. Violence wasn't punished, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, etc. So lawlessness was established as normative, especially if a perpetrator was politically connected to the right causes. Today, calling for and attempting assassinations has become mainstream. Destroying Teslas or property connected to political opponents is rarely prosecuted unless federally by A.G. Bondi. And she gave an example about Minnesota where Tim Wall's staffer keys Tesla is causing $20,000 in damages, and no charges are filed by the Minneapolis district attorney. What do you think about all that, Leo? Similar to what you shared.
It's all true. Absolutely. I couldn't argue with the single premise put forth there. I would add maybe one more thing to pray for, and that would be the discernment of the true church, the brothers and sisters, the believers. We need godly discernment right now more than ever, because there is so much deception being wrought on the world stage and here at home in America right now, that I think it would be easy to, even for people like me who watches closely all of this stuff, every little twist of the screw every day, if I don't continuously humble myself and ask God for his wisdom and his discernment, I'm going to be deceived. I'm not going to be a correct judge of what's happening. And I think a little humility is in the offing. We all need it. None of us are above the need for godly wisdom, last I checked. And I see so many Christians, walking around ignorant of what's going on, but they're not praying for any of God's insight, and they don't seem to even want to educate themselves on some of these issues, because like I say, even those of us who are continuously educating ourselves, it's easy to be deceived in these days.
It is, and it's tough, because I think the truth tellers right now have been and maybe this is throughout history, but the truth tellers right now, they've been getting hammered in this country. We've never seen the type of censorship, shadow banning, lawfare, everything that's been coming after people, like President Trump, Rudy Giuliani, myself, Jim. You just, if you're sharing the truth, you're a target, and like
Yes.
never before. It's really dark times. It's really Tina
Right.
Peters. I was at
And
an
you know,
event
you've got
yesterday.
people like Zuckerberg out there saying they're not doing that anymore.
Yeah,
But
of course.
I can tell you from firsthand experience that not one bit of the shadow banning and the censorship has been done away with at Facebook or Instagram or any of Zuckerberg's platforms. It's all talk. And that's what I'm saying. It's like my motto in today's world is question everything. You can't take anything at face value from any politician, any corporate business executive like Zuckerberg or Gates or any of these people. You can't. I mean, that's why so many people, I think, got taken in by the whole COVID scam and the forced vaccines. They listened to these people and took them at face value, and now they regret it. Well, I can tell you the next big scam is going to come along, and the same crew of people, the same globalists, are going to be telling us how we should deal with it, what we should do in our own personal lives, and it's not going to be the correct advice to be listening to.
Oh, you're right. Absolutely. The stuff that we've seen since Trump stepped into office. Well, with Barack Obama, I was seeing things I never understood. Why is he sending billions of dollars to Iran, for example? That didn't make sense to me. I thought that was against the law, as a matter of fact. But he was able to do it. And then I think a lot of this stuff funnels back to Obama just taking over some of these government entities and then building this framework, maybe under Obama more so than ever, the framework that we just saw exposed under USAID, where we saw, oh my God.
Yes. I think the danger, Joe, is that, yes, Obama weaponized these systems, these government agencies, but who created some of them? You know, we could go back to George W. Bush creating the Department of Homeland Security and initiating the USA Patriot Act. And we were told at the time that this was necessary, what? For our safety and security. We had to protect ourselves against those evil Muslims, which we brought in droves, right? And with free and unfettered immigration of people from countries that hate us. And I wrote a whole book about that. Stealth invasion, which we don't need to get into. But so you have one president who's coming at us from the right saying we need to vastly expand the size of government, create this big, huge new entity, monstrosity called the Department of Homeland Security, and put it over the FBI and the TSA and the Justice Department and all of these other agencies. And it sounded good at the time, right? Because we had just come under this attack on 9/11. But then along comes a fella named Barack Obama. And he takes that government apparatus that was created by a Republican president, and he weaponizes it not against the Muslims. He turns that our apparatus entirely inward against we the people, notably conservative, American, patriotic, Christian type people. And we see the J6 thing, and we see, elderly women being arrested at abortion clinics because they were praying outside the clinic peacefully. We see him going after and threatening under Biden. Now they were threatening traditional Catholics who celebrated the Latin Mass. And they were using all of these 9/11 type laws and bureaucratic precedents, the FISA court and all that, to spy not on the Muslims and persecute not the Muslims, but we the people. And so we have to be very careful under this Trump administration that the same thing doesn't happen, that some new apparatus isn't created. And I hate to say it, but it looked no further than Project Stargate. Project Stargate, announced on President Trump's first full day in office as he invited Larry Ellison, the arch technocrat from Oracle, and Sam Altman from OpenAI and a Japanese banker into the White House for a press conference in which he noted the creation of Project Stargate. Now, what is that? He is working with these technocrats to vastly upgrade and expand artificial intelligence. And they're building these big, huge data centers in multiple states, Texas, Georgia, Louisiana, and several other states. They're just like massive, massive facilities, 1 million square feet or more, and they use up immense amounts of electric power and water to cool the servers. Oh, Elon Musk also has one in Memphis, Tennessee. He calls it Colossus. And so this is building out the infrastructure of an AI surveillance state. I don't think Trump has any evil intent with it, but my concern is that he's going to build it, and along comes a future Barack Obama who will weaponize it. And so it really is a double-edged sword. We have to be concerned about both parties in this country, and not have our eyes simply only on the Barack Obamas and Joe Bidens of the world.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a great point. And talking about Obama too, a couple things, for me, well, you already mentioned even before the Ukraine takeover by Barack Obama, yes. The bombing of multiple countries in the Middle East by Barack Obama, yep. His really anti-Israel stance as he's yep. arming Palestinians and Iran, and just this policy abroad that was just totally insane. It didn't make any sense. And it seemed eventually, it was very confusing. And it was almost towards the end, who is he for here? He wasn't for Israel. He was for Iran. So he flipped our foreign policy almost to be with, the Iran as opposed to Israel. Trump came back, Biden as well. I didn't know who Biden was, who
was that presidency even run by?
Yeah.
We
the
still
stuff
don't
that
know.
We've had to go through. Yeah, it's outrageous. It's certainly
that should be the story of the century. That we had a president of the United States who was signing executive orders and directives with an auto pen, and we don't know who was controlling the auto pen.
Right. I love it when Trump says that here. He says, and whoever else, he'll say Happy Easter, everybody, and whoever signed off on whoever owned the auto pen during the Biden, worst presidency ever,
Yes.
I love it that he says that. It was so corrupt, and the Russia collusion is sham, and then the 2020 election, and then, all just things that we've never seen before. The censorship was massive. And we've never seen that before in the U.S. either.
No.
Obama changed that law too, didn't he? That authorized and gave the government the ability to lie to the people.
Yes.
Wasn't that was a big deal? So a lot of stuff needs to be addressed right now, and then we've got a world in crisis.
We really do, and it remains to be seen how it's all going to shake out. Europeans are warning their populations to prepare for war. The Chinese are warning their population to prepare for war. I wouldn't settle into a false sense of security, I guess, is all I would say to the American people right now.
I agree. And and just the U.S. economy too. It's been Trump's, I think, got some great ideas how to fix it. There's some pretty big things that need to happen. He's made some great moves, I think, but it's challenging. You mentioned Obama. Here's the thing that I remember most about Obama that told us immediately, oh my God, what's going on here? What did we do in voting him in? He promised that every bill, he'd give people plenty of time to read them. He complained about some of the bills that had been set up. We're going to give people time to read them before we approve them and blah, blah, blah. Within days after he is inaugurated, they pass a stimulus bill. Nobody read it. It was right. Thick, and it increased the U.S. budget from like $3 trillion a year to $4 trillion. So by a third. And they said we have to do this to save the government. That budget never went lower. And then they used COVID the same way. and move it from like 4 trillion a year up to then 6 or 7. And this is what Trump inherits now with this massive spending, government spending. That's
and what about the Republican Congress that sits on its heels and does nothing? Have they implemented a single Trump agenda item yet? I don't think so. Have they? I haven't even heard any serious talk about implementing like the tax cut agenda and all of that. Trump had some great ideas about how to fund the government using tariffs instead of tax dollars. Well, I don't see any movement from the Congress to adopt that agenda.
Oh, nothing. Same with the Senate. Nothing. It's like, here's the thing that hit me too. Here's Pam Bondi. People are complaining because she's not getting stuff done. I've been one of the people. I'm like this. I'm appalled. There's a number of people we know are criminals, committed acts of criminals, and they're walking around. We got to get these people behind bars before they cause more harm. So that's frustrating. But then it turns out, well, she's still got people that have to make it through the Senate. She doesn't even have her full team yet. So what's the Senate doing? Why is that? Why is there anybody that hasn't been approved already?
Good question. Yeah. I mean, I would say if we don't see some movement in that direction by the 6-month mark of the Trump presidency, we're already 3 months in. Okay. It's not going to happen. We're not going to see a single major mover and shaker who was part of that corrupt machine be prosecuted, let alone convicted.
I agree. I mean, we went through this with Bill Barr. We kept saying the Bill's going to bring the bar tab and all that.
Right.
And it was all nonsense. The guy was as corrupt as any of them, just disgusting.
Right. Because if you think about it, we've got the midterms coming up in less than 2 years.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's going to be game over more than likely for the Republicans.
Yeah. Well, unless we fix the elections, right?
Yeah.
That's right. And there's also, and we got these rogue judges that are turning that stuff over. I did have a piece earlier before you came on. Newt Gingrich came out with this, said that Representative Issa came out with a bill, I guess, that says that these district attorneys can only rule over their district. They can't make these grandiose countrywide, narratives and decisions. And apparently it's passed the House. Apparently it's moving on to the Senate. So Newt seemed to think that's going to make it. Sooner the better, boys. We need this thing, boys and girls. We need this thing signed quicker than anything. It's outrageous what's going on.
Yes, indeed it is, Joe. Indeed it is.
So biggest concerns, international or domestic?
I would say equal right now, but I would guess I say in terms of my writing, I pay a little bit more attention to international than I do domestic politics, because domestic politics to me, there's so many people covering it from so many different angles. I leave that more to the political junkies. I'm looking at the big picture and geopolitical strategy more in this last couple of years, Joe, because it seems like there is just such a dearth of good reporting on just the Russian-Ukraine war. Just take that one issue as an example. Everything we see from the mainstream corporate media is all coming from the exact same perspective, which is the deep state perspective. Mm-hmm. We get no honest reporting on what is the root cause of that war, and what would it take to solve it. It's all just this deep state government propaganda being put forth by their lackeys at the Washington Post, New York Times, and all the rest of them.
Absolutely.
So I guess I feel like there's more. I guess I feel like there's more of a need in America to hear my voice in that arena than to throw in with all the other reporters, who are so engaged with what's going on in Washington. I'm more interested in what's going on in Washington, but also as it relates to the rest of the world.
Yeah, President Trump, he's been amazing coming out with bill after executive order. stuff's great. It's great. He's doing what he can. That's one thing that's given us, I think, a lot of hope. We're excited. He's taking on the deep state right away with Doge. It was great idea, brilliant idea, and hopefully we can gain some savings through that.
And
Stop some of this corruption.
I think the globalist agenda, in order to be fully implemented, and by that I'm talking about digital programmable currency replacing the US dollar, and digital biometric digital IDs for all people. This is the globalist agenda moving forward. And I think in order for them to be successful in implementing that in a country like America, they need World War III. They need it very badly. And that's why you see so many puppet global world leaders on the stage right now in the UK, in France, in Germany, Brussels. President Trump is the only one at least making an attempt. The jury's out as to whether or not he will be successful or not, but he's at least making an attempt to go against the grain in this march towards World War III.
Yeah, showing really his true numbers. Here was Barack Obama bombing everybody. They give him a Nobel Peace Prize, right? And then President Trump, who's the peace president, who's done more to stop wars than anybody over the last maybe century in the U.S.
We need to end these. Yes, we need to end these forever wars. I think that was a big reason people went for Trump. And so, but there's a battle going on right now. I will say within the Trump administration, you've got neocon warmongers like Mike Waltz advising the president of the United States, who never should have been appointed to that post. And then you've got others in there like Tulsi Gabbard, and I think I would throw Pete Hegseth in there as more rational-minded, anti-war type leaders who recognize the need for America to be strong and achieve peace through strength, but not to be instigating forever wars all over around the world.
Yeah, that's really important for sure. And yeah, he's got some great people, I think. Overall,
he's got some great people, and he's got some questionable people.
Yeah, I agree. Bobby Kennedy's been great. He's starting to come out with some initiatives. I'm really excited about that. Just that you see that stuff and your heart jumps for joy, But these are some tough times. That whole thing with Russia, Ukraine. I think Zelensky's painting a picture pretty clear. What's the problem there? And it's him and whoever he's reporting to. And Trump's made it pretty clear that episode in the White House, actually, at the time it was pretty entertaining, but it really was a great idea for Trump to show this clown show in front of the whole world. And what he has to face here is he's serious about trying to end this war. People are dying. And I agree with what you said before as well. If Russia wanted to take over Ukraine, I think they could have done it. I think they could have done it pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
And they're just and if they wanted to, they could have bombed the hell out of Kiev and just gotten it over with. And they haven't done that. And I agree that wasn't their goal going in. I think Ukraine never had a chance, and Biden kept them in it. He forced them to stay in it. Now the EU is, I guess. They want this war, and and I think this probably the CIA of old, the deep state wants the war. I've heard,
100%.
But I heard that it all had to deal with oil and gas. That's why they went in. They took over these oil and gas fields and companies in Ukraine. That's why Hunter Biden was put on a board there, and the goal was to remove Russia from as the source of energy for Europe and replace it with Ukraine. And that's what it's been all along. It's sick. Sinister.
It is. And that you are spot on right now with what you just said. Lindsey Graham admitted that more than 6 months ago when he said this war is about resources and cutting Russia off from those resources. That is what it's always been about. It had nothing to do with preserving democracy in Ukraine. Our government continues to lie to us, and our lapdog media, which is the state-run media in this country, people don't realize it, but we have every bit as much a state-run media as Russia does. and they do nothing but feed us the deep state lies day in and day out. The Nazis said it perfectly. Tell the biggest lie you can think of and repeat it often enough, and people will believe it.
Mhm.
That was the famous Nazi propagandist.
Sure.
What was his name? Joseph Goebbels. Joseph Goebbels. He said that.
Yeah.
And it's so
Yeah.
true. It's so true.
Yeah. And that's why we're in an information war. That's when they hate us.
Yes.
They hate what we're doing. So that means we're doing the right thing. We're doing the godly thing. So
I mean, here
Leo,
you got this guy Zelensky. He's banned all opposition parties. He's persecuting the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. He's arresting their priests. He's closing their monasteries, and he's shut down all media that does, and he's canceled elections. So he's nothing but a two-bit dictator who is an illegitimate leader at this point. He's staying in office even though his term is expired and has canceled elections. How is that preserving democracy in Ukraine?
It's a fallacy. It's all a fallacy. The mainstream media is a fallacy, and
Yes.
making a lot for us to decipher every day. Leo, thanks for all that you do. You've done great work, and appreciate you coming on. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, Joe. My pleasure.
Yeah, great stuff. Way to go. And again, people can reach out to you at leohohmann.com and your Substack account.
Yes, leohohmann.substack.com.
Awesome. Great stuff, Leo. Way to go. Thanks for all your help and support and sharing the truth.
Same
Really
to you.
well done. Thank you. Have a great weekend. And we'll be back. Appreciate y'all sitting and listening and loving us and supporting us in all that we do. Again, you can always purchase my books out there on the 2020 Steel. As Roger Stone said, these will be bestsellers someday, and not just bestsellers. They're already bestsellers, but he said they're gonna be something historic in the years to come. So thank you for your support. We appreciate it in every way, and keep a smile on the face, and thank you for all that you've done for us. We'll see you again.